Welcome, Ed from Pinball Mayhem. I'm here to show you a little bit of an update on Eros One. This is the Fantastic Inc. Allied Leisure game I picked up a while back. I did an intro video saying I'm going to be working on it, but the first thing I said I wanted to do was get the woodworking done. There was a tear in the cabinet here, as well as, I can rotate this around, on this side. Now this side, I noticed this later after I took the top off. That's where someone drove the screw through. This is particle board, not super high value, costly particle board. So I just ended up working some glue in here and clamping. I actually had 3 clamps on it for one day, 2 boards and some wax paper to keep it from sticking. And on this side, I wanted to point out a couple things. This is where the tear was. And one thing you always want to do, dry fit. Don't sit there and throw glue on it, because when you throw glue on it, you've got 15 minutes, half hour to work, depending on your glue. But what I did is I needed to pull that joint together and watch it and see how I'm going to close that joint. So that's why I dry fit everything, then I pulled it all off. The other thing you want to dry fit with is can you hold all your boards and everything you're clamping with by yourself? So if you can't, make sure you have help when it comes time to dry fit. So what I did is I ended up clamping it this way, but the joint was still open, so I threw a clamp on the widthwise and I was able to close it up. But I also noticed that the side was coming in as well. That made me a little worried until I measured here and I measured here before I drew it in with this clamp, and I was actually an 1/8 inch wide. And when I got it down to where I wanted it to be, so this was, you know, the same width here and here, I was, it was the joint was closed. It was where I needed it to be. I actually have not taken the clamps off. I've been had some cleaning emergencies I had to do in the basement, some house projects. So it's just been, normally I would say for a joint this big, you want to give it like 2 days. They say 24 hours. It doesn't hurt to give a little extra time sometimes, especially when you put a lot of glue in, clamp it. That glue, give a little bit more time to cure. Why not? This has been like 2 weeks I've been doing this, and with cleaning up this. You notice these clamps are all over the place. Use every clamp you got, but if you got something hanging out, this is hanging out into a walkway, just throw a rag on it so that you see it, so you don't run into it or somebody else. I should have had, on all those something white. One other thing I'm going to point out, see these the small clamps here, those are just to hold this clamp in place, just to get some pressure. I'm going to actually start over here. Let's pull this bad boy off. This is the first one I put on. And the good news is I'm going to be able to finish cleaning and put everything away. All right. A little glue underneath here, being careful. Good strong joint. Did is it split down the middle and split the inside in, so I ended up trying to get some glue in the corner there. That's good. Another quick note, I did have to take off the flipper button, which I got to decide what I want to do with this. This is the original flipper buttons. Now I got one off, might as well take them both off, run through an ultrasonic or something. But I might just get new ones, or at least put a new red center off of a Bally, because this is I believe the same as some of the Gottliebs. Gottliebs and some Ballys may use these too. Very similar stuff. It's just slightly cheaper made for this, where it faded the red out. So I may want to put like a clear red in there just to get it back to color. I'm actually going to take this one off first, because I want to loosen the pressure, because I don't want to open up that joint when I... There we go. All right. No damage here. I want to loosen up that, I don't want to open up that joint with this one. And now, there we go. Moment of truth. Is this going to be any good? I did have a lot of pressure. The one thing about these foot bar clamps, they're good for getting a lot of force on there. So you always want to put a board underneath it if you care about what you're clamping to. Like here I have a nice piece of birch that I'm using. And the inside one's not going to fall, but the outside one will. Just want to hold that. And so now I get to put all this stuff away, which is actually kind of nice, because if I have any clamping projects, I got a lot of glue on the inside. But, you know, on the inside it's not as important to be perfect because it's the inside. But just seeing how, you know, and carefully peel the wax paper off. Don't just tear it off. It's not gonna, it does still stick a little bit, and I can reuse that where it didn't rip through. There, it's actually nice, smoother than the other board. It's strong. When I took the clamps off, they didn't pop. My joint's a little bit more open than the other one, but a little bit of cleaning, it's still going to be a lot more solid than it was before. The cool part is now I can continue working on this. I believe the next thing I'm going to do, just because the top side is so simple, I like to have that done before I start messing around with the electronics and stuff. I know I have a 5-volt issue. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a simple teardown of this and clean and wax everything, check all the connections underneath the apron, because all these displays plug in here. Probably take the State of Wisconsin Amusement decal off. It's half fallen off anyways, carefully, and put it back together. This is probably take me an hour to tear down, and then I can run the flipper buttons and the parts to the ultrasonic and then throw it back together, clean wax. I could probably do this in a night. It's not super complicated. There is kind of some cool stuff I like to point out when I have it open. Actually, even though it has plastics here, it actually has some pathways in the plastic, which is kind of cool. So they make use of everything. So next video I do is going to have it torn down. Hopefully everything will be cleaned up. Clean and wax will be ready to go put it back together. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next installment on Fascination Inc. Eros One. Fascination Inc. Eros One. That's a mouthful.